Okay, so we are going to be chatting with Ghaleb Cachalia. He's a DA MP. He's quit over the Israel-Palestine stance. He had a principled position in relation to it, which was at odds with DA policy, foreign policy, specifically in relation to Palestine and the war that is raging out on that particular front. We have an opportunity to chat with him right now and to make sense of it. Welcome, Mr. Cachalia. It's great to have you.
Nice to be with you.
I think I want to, because it's in the public domain and I don't want to necessarily discuss nuts and bolts, I want to understand the role of principle, the role of conscience when it's located within party policy and party apparatus. Do you think principle, individual principle and conscience trumps party politics? Sorry about the word Trump.
Look, I think that on certain issues that are polarizing, that are moral, that are human rights issues and the like, there is an absolute need for parties to understand that there are independent opinions which people must, in a liberal party, certainly have the right to freedom of speech on. And also independent views, and also views that they understand may not be held by everyone. For example, if you take the issue of abortion, and if that comes up in Parliament or in the party or whatever the case may be, there are divergent views on the strongly held views. You have strongly held religious views, you have strongly held feminist views, you have all kinds of views on that. And certainly on that sort of thing, I'm sure that the party would be quite amenable to people having particular views on the subject and airing those views, perhaps the same on the death penalty, for example. So I think that on something that has serious human rights implications and that has polarizing views like this, and that's ongoing currently, I think that people should be able to voice their opinions as I have, or have the freedom to do so. Now, there is no policy, by the way, in the DA on Gaza. There is no policy on Israel and Palestine. There are views that various leaders at various times have put together, but they have never presented it. They've never tabled those views to Federal Congress, or when Federal Congress is not sitting, to Federal Council as they should for ratification. Only then does it become policy. So you have a process where people debate these issues, they give input into these issues. I've asked for, and then they table it, and then it gets voted on and ratified.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
So yours was a principled position that you felt necessary to put into the public domain.
Yes.
You were sanctioned for that. Why didn't you resign then?
Well, it was the prerogative of the leader of the party to have in his shadow cabinet whom he wants, and he could say that for whatever reason that he doesn't want X or Y in his shadow cabinet, as he does from time to time. So that doesn't mean that I would cease to be an MP. I issued a statement at the time, a press statement, and I said I would go to the backbenches. I would continue to do my work that I set out to do right from the beginning, politically, in terms of trying to build a better future for all South Africans, and to call those out who stand in the way of it. I also said that I would be free to continue to follow my beliefs and to say, and to, as I put it, to speak truth to power. And I made that abundantly clear. And then I continued from the backbenches, as it were, to make statements in line with my views and my principles on all sorts of issues, and then also on particularly on Gaza.
Okay, so you would opt out of your leadership position, but continue to speak your conscience on Palestine specifically, on Gaza specifically.
I made that absolutely plain, and I did so. It's only when Newsroom Africa called me and said, can we do a national TV interview with you? The South African government has just laid an action before the ICJ, the court, the International Criminal Court, the Court of Justice, and we want to talk to you about that. And I did that. And then the leadership of the DA, John Steenhuisen, and his little coterie of people around him, jumped up and down like a cat on a hot tin roof.
Is that the straw that broke the camel's back, as far as you're concerned?
Well, it seems to be, because that triggered a letter from ostensibly from Emma Powell, the spokesman on international affairs, but I think written in large measure by John Steenhuisen and his advisors, to say that I would be disciplined, that I would be red flagged, I would not be allowed to stand in the new for election going forward for 2024. And then they took that to Federal Council. That was then not supported in Federal Council because other people spoke up on my behalf. But then they decided to send a cease and desist letter to me saying that I could speak on anything under the sun, but I shouldn't mention the war. I can't speak on Gaza. And I can't tell anybody that I've been told that I've been gagged in this regard. And I said, no, this is untenable. You can't do that. And I communicated this to them. And also, going back a long time, I asked for meetings with John Steenhuisen. He rebuffed. And when I began to communicate drafts of my intention perhaps to resign to Helen Ziller, she sent the resignation letter to John before they accepted it, and said, would he be open to mediation, which I requested formally, and I heard nothing about.
But she did say, wait till John's mood changes, maybe then you can have that facilitative. Okay, that's in the public domain. I want to understand, because John's in the media. John Steenhuisen, leader of the DA, says it's silly season, and understandably so. He's implying that you were offered a job by another political party, and hence you resigned. It wasn't on the principled issue. That's why I'm pressing you on the principal issue, and I'm asking you really with this follow-up question if there's another political party that offered.
Where he gets that from?
Well, I think that's the implication. He's implying that. So I think the question is: have you been offered a role with another political party?
It's patently untrue. I've received no offer from any political party. I'm not joining any political party.
Are you opting out of politics because of this?
Well, I'm reviewing what I'm doing. So there are a number of options. I will always be governed. I'm a political animal. And I will be governed in what I do, whatever I do, by four pillars, if you like. One is human rights. The other is aspects of social justice. The third is a commitment to more direct democracy, because the system's broken. More direct and fluid democracy is terribly important, and I will always be exercised by those kind of lodestars going forward. Also, the economic prosperity of this country and how I can contribute to that by encouraging investment into this country and ensuring that there would be more jobs available for our people, given the squalid state of our economy. So those four pillars will always
We have to wrap. And I think the most important question I want to ask you is, I think this country needs more of the principle that you are suggesting you represent. And I don't like DA foreign policy. I don't like the fact that they are selective on human rights, that they can call out Putin, and correctly so, but they won't, utter a word in terms of allegations leveled at the Israeli government, the furthest right Israeli government ever. They won't say that, international law needs to be upheld first and foremostly. And if you're found guilty, you must be treated in the very same way that we must treat Putin.
Absolutely.
Why is that double standards? I think we're all trying to understand that.
Well, it's allied to the fact that there's never been policy on this issue in the DA, and you must ask yourself why.
No, I think the question I'm asking myself is, and a lot of people are asking themselves, is it about funding?
Well, the power of the purse is always to be reckoned with. And I think that if you look at who funds the DA, certainly Mr. Marshall, who's the largest funder, the second largest funder to the tune this year of 30 million rands, and you look as to what boards he sits on and what he chairs in his private capacity. He chairs and sits on.
In the same way, can we assume, given the ANC standoff on Ukraine, that funding is coming from maybe from Russia?
I don't know. Perhaps that could well be.
But so that's a good assumption. If what you're agreeing to is an assumption, a fair assumption to make. Somebody wants to know, why is Ronaldo Gous allowed to speak his truth?
Well, I think when they issued me with this cease and desist order, they had to send it to a couple of other people. So I think they sent it to Ronaldo Gous as well. And I think they also sent it to Daniel Shea, who's been very vociferous from the Israeli point of view.
So you're happy that the DA has responded in the same manner that they've responded to you, to the others that maybe have a different position?
Well, I think that was a bit of, covering their backside.
Some PR. Okay, some PR. Yeah. We're going to rest it there, but we really appreciate your time, and I think we need more politicians that stand up on principle. Thank you for sharing with us today. Ghaleb Cachalia, DA MP, he quit over Israel-Palestine stance.